Trump shocked everyone when he suddenly decided to slap a huge 25% tax on steel from Canada and Mexico. Imagine this. Every piece of steel crossing into the US from our closest neighbors was about to get a lot more expensive. And it wasn't just steel. He did the same with aluminum. That means everyday things like soda cans, bicycles, and even cars could start costing more. Canada didn't wait around quietly. They fired back with their own big move, placing heavy taxes on over $100 billion worth of American stuff. We're talking everything from food and clothes to machines and electronics. But Canada didn't stop there. They warned the US that they might even stop sending important things like gas, oil, and car parts. Then Canada gave another heads up. They said that in just 3 weeks, they'd hit another $125 billion of American products with tariffs. They decided to wait a bit so their own businesses had time to get ready and adjust. It may sound hard to believe, but Canada made one thing crystal clear. They weren't playing around. Ottawa warned Washington to take back the tariffs, or else they'd pull out all their strongest cards to fight back. But here's the big question everyone's asking now. Could this fierce battle of taxes ruin the friendship between two countries that have been best friends for a long, long time? Or will Trump change his mind and cool things down? Hey there, you're tuned into our channel, where today we're diving straight into this big trade fight that's kicking up dust all over North America. If you love finding out the real story behind these big headlines, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and drop a like on this video. Because in just a second, we're going to get right into exactly what Canada's fighting back with and what Mexico plans to do next. President Trump just made a bold new move that surprised everyone. He's raising taxes on goods coming into the US from Canada and Mexico by 25%. Why would he do that? Trump says it's to protect American jobs, especially in factories that produce metals like steel and aluminum, and even car parts. He believes these new taxes will help encourage people to buy things made here in the United States instead of buying from other countries. But Canada isn't happy at all. They feel this new rule isn't fair, and they've decided it's time to stand up and push back. Canada and the US have worked together for years, trading goods and helping each other's economies grow. But this new decision from Trump might change all that friendship and teamwork. Canada's government has decided they can't just let this happen quietly. So they've come up with their own plan. They're putting big taxes right back onto US products, worth billions of dollars. In fact, they've listed over 1,000 different American products they'll start taxing immediately. Things we use every day, like orange juice, peanut butter, coffee, clothes, shoes, makeup, motorcycles, and even washing machines. But that's not all. Canada warned that this is just step one. They're giving America about 3 weeks to change their minds. If Trump doesn't remove these new taxes, Canada plans to make their own taxes even bigger. They'll start taxing some major items like cars, trucks, and even more steel and aluminum. This second step could affect products worth over $100 billion. Prime Minister Trudeau says Canada didn't want this fight, but they have no choice but to respond strongly to what they think is an unfair rule from the United States. Some people wonder if Canada's reaction is maybe too strong or if they really needed to push back this hard. Others say Canada had no other choice but to show they're serious about protecting their businesses and workers. So now both countries are locked in a big argument over trade, taxes, and fairness. People on both sides of the border are watching carefully to see what happens next. Canada is getting ready for a big showdown with the United States, and they're starting by hitting American products with some new taxes. We're talking billions of dollars worth of everyday things like washing machines, kitchen appliances, plastic containers, and even paper for books and newspapers. But that's just the beginning. Canada is already thinking about their next step. They're asking Canadian citizens and businesses for ideas about what other US products should get taxed next. They're considering big stuff like cars, trucks, electric vehicles, airplane parts, fruits and veggies, beef, pork, and dairy. Basically, if it comes from America, Canada might soon be charging extra for it. And Canada isn't stopping at taxes. They're even thinking about other ways to push back, like making it harder for America to buy important minerals that are used in electric cars, phones, and computers. The Canadian government hinted they might even slow down the energy trade. Did you know that parts of the US rely on Canada for electricity and natural gas? Imagine if suddenly the lights started flickering. But don't worry, Canada also wants to protect its own people from feeling the pain of these new taxes. They're working on ways to help businesses and workers who might be affected. If a Canadian company needs something from the US without extra charges, they can ask the government to make an exception. Prime Minister Trudeau said these Canadian taxes won't go away until America removes theirs first. He's been talking closely with leaders from all over Canada to find new ways of pushing back that aren't even about taxes. Canada's top diplomat, Melanie Joly, made it clear that they're totally ready to take action if the US won't back down. She mentioned everything from farm goods and clothing to spare car parts and energy supplies as possible targets. Canada might even pull out their biggest weapon yet, cutting back on selling electricity and gas, something that could really shake things up in certain American regions. On the flip side, America needs Canada's oil to keep its gas refineries running smoothly. If Canada pulls back there, this trade fight could get way more serious. Mexico is also gearing up for a similar battle with the United States. Just like Canada, they're planning to add extra costs to things coming in from America, especially steel, aluminum, and farm products. Mexico's actions could become a big headache for American car companies because many cars in the US are built using parts from Mexico. Mexico is saying they've had enough. There's just no way left to make a deal with Trump. It feels like playing a game where one player keeps changing the rules. Trump has decided it's his way or nothing at all, but Mexico isn't backing down. They're saying they've got powerful cards of their own, and they're ready to play them. People who understand these things are warning that all this arguing could really hurt America's economy. Think about it. Cars and trucks in the US depend on parts made in Mexico and Canada. If those parts stop coming, factories here could slow down or even shut down, meaning fewer jobs and higher prices at the car dealership. Speaking of higher prices, all these new taxes could mean families pay more at the store too. Even basic groceries might cost extra, especially if Canada really goes through with its threat to send less oil and gas to America. Less fuel could mean trucks and ships that deliver your food cost more to operate, making everything more expensive. So why is Trump pushing so hard, even against his closest friends like Mexico and Canada? He believes putting America first means bringing more jobs back home and making the country stronger by depending less on others. Trump thinks America is big enough and important enough that everyone else will eventually have to agree with his rules. But Canada and Mexico aren't acting scared. Canada has already taken a big step, taxing billions of dollars worth of US products, and even saying they're ready to complain to an international organization that handles trade arguments. Mexico is planning to do exactly the same. This makes people wonder if these global trade referees, the World Trade Organization, can calm things down, or if it's already too late. If this fight keeps going, companies in North America might be forced to scramble for new suppliers, factories might run short on parts, grocery shelves might get more expensive, and ordinary families would feel the pinch. Some folks think Canada and Mexico will eventually back down because America buys so much from them. But others say it's different this time. Canada and Mexico might just be ready to prove they don't need the US as much as Trump thinks. They could look for new customers around the world or even force the US into deals it doesn't want. Factories across America are facing a big problem because of this trade fight with Canada and Mexico. Think about your favorite cars or trucks. They might be built in Detroit, but many of their parts actually come from Mexico. At the same time, lots of gas stations across America depend on Canada for the thick oil they turn into fuel. If Canada decides to stop sending oil, the US might have to look far away to places like Venezuela or the Middle East, which could cost a lot more money and time. Now, Canada isn't just quietly accepting these new taxes from the US. They're getting ready to push back big time. In fact, Canada's leaders are putting together a huge list of American products that they plan to tax heavily. This list includes food, clothes, car parts, metals, and even chemicals. Altogether, it's worth over $100 billion. Next week, the Canadian government is going to ask Parliament, their version of Congress, to approve these new taxes. But regular Canadians are feeling confused. They're wondering how neighbors who usually get along so well suddenly ended up fighting like this. Sure, some people think Canada should stand tough and show America they can't be pushed around. But many others just feel sad that two countries known for being friends are arguing so bitterly. Could this fight really harm the friendship between two neighbors that share one of the longest borders in the world? Mexico isn't keeping quiet either. Farmers and businesses there are fed up. They say if America doesn't want to trade fairly, Mexico will just find new friends, maybe in Europe or Asia. Some Mexican companies are even talking about reaching out to China to build new relationships. This might put the big trade deal between the US, Mexico, and Canada in serious trouble. President Trump himself has warned before that he might just tear up the agreement entirely. Now, many people wonder if the whole idea of these three countries working together makes sense anymore, especially if they're constantly fighting over taxes and trade. Inside the US, people are also split about what's going on. Businesses, especially those that make steel, aluminum, or cars, are worried because their products will become more expensive. They're asking, who will want to buy our stuff if prices keep rising? But Trump supporters love his message. They're happy he's sticking to his promise to put America first. They cheer when he says, "We won't let other countries take advantage of us." However, many people disagree strongly. They argue that starting a trade fight with our closest friends isn't protecting America. It's hurting everyone involved. Right now, everyone's wondering what will happen next. Will America back off and find a peaceful solution, or will Trump stand his ground no matter what? Some people think Trump won't change his mind at all. He'll stick to his plan even if it makes things worse. But what if this trade fight keeps going? If America, Canada, and Mexico continue arguing and stop working together, lots of problems could pop up. Businesses that once traded easily might suddenly have to look for new places to buy their supplies. Factories might close or move somewhere else. People could lose jobs, and families would have a harder time getting the things they need. And it wouldn't just affect these three countries. If North America's economy starts to wobble, the whole world might feel the shake. Countries everywhere rely on the US, Canada, and Mexico to work together smoothly. So if they start fighting, the trouble could spread far and wide. Now here's what everyone's debating. Does it really make sense for Trump to put such big taxes on Canada and Mexico? Is he helping America, or is he creating problems that can't easily be fixed? And what about Canada's big response, charging extra on billions of dollars worth of American products and threatening to cut back energy supplies? Is that the smart thing to do, or is it just making things more complicated? Mexico isn't backing down either. They're making bold moves too. But will this strong stance convince America to change its ways, or could it lead to even bigger conflicts? We're curious about what you think.